What do you guys think of the new intro? What do you think? I've used the old intro for 3 years, nearly 3 years. We've upgraded, and I want to big up CJR Studios. Website is there on screen. You should look at some of the cards they have. I'm someone who loves nature, the owls and things like that. I love all that, and he has them on the website as well, so I'm having a good look at them. But link will be pinned in the comments section. He very kindly, for free, did that intro for me. I can't thank him enough for it. And I really like it. I really like that new intro. Let me know what you think. We've used the old one for 3 years come January. 3 years I've used that same intro, right? It's been tweaked a little bit with Tie and Boot at one stage over it, but it's been the same. So we've changed it. I really like it. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy the video that I'm about to give to you guys, but I wanted to plug that before we did anything. CJR Studios, pinned in the chat, so pinned in the comment section. Go over, have a look at it. Great little website. Great guy for doing it, and shout out. Alright, so David Benavidez giving an interview with ProBox, and I'm going to quote him here directly. There's two quotes in particular I want to talk about, and it's on Canelo Alvarez. Now, of course, Benavidez is the mandatory for Canelo. He's the interim WBC champion at 168 pounds. He has this to say. He says, I know people say he's done enough and he doesn't need to fight. So why does he have all the belts? He should just do celebrity boxing matches. Why is he holding the belts hostage and not giving the number one contender the opportunity they deserve? When the WBC mandated him to fight Avni Yildirim, he jumped on it quickly. You owe it to the people. Let's give the people what they want to see. That is what Dave Benavidez said. He also said that if the rumors are true that Canelo was fighting Munguia in May, then he'll ask Al Heyman to fight Jamal Charlo around the same time so he can eliminate another potential opponent and give Canelo no choice but to face him in September. I like it. I like what I'm hearing. How often have we seen it in boxing where it's not even necessarily it could be the fellow countryman, but just a fighter who has... Obviously, Benavidez would have looked at Canelo through the years. Obviously, he's younger than Canelo. So he would have looked at him and admired him. But always wanted probably the opportunity to fight him. And the opportunity is there. It reminds me a little bit of Vitaly Klitschko when he fought Lennox Lewis. Because bear in mind, Klitschko was meant to fight on Lewis's undercard. I think Lewis meant to fight, was it Kirk Johnson or someone like that? A fairly run-of-the-mill miscellaneous contender. Lewis didn't really train, but Klitschko was training for someone on the undercard who was shorter than him, and he fought Lewis, who was shorter than him. But going into that fight, he was always saying, look, he'd been studying Lennox Lewis. He obviously, I'm sure deep down he did admire Lennox Lewis, but he always wanted to be the guy to dethrone him, and he nearly did in that fight. No controversy about it. I mean, it was no controversy with that stoppage. I think Lewis would have won in the long run anyway, but we'll never know. And I wonder, is it something like this where Benavidez is just, Canelo is probably someone he does admire. He might not, and I would advise him not to admit it, because you just don't want to give your opponent, if you are going to be an opponent, him thinking, oh, like he admires me, so he's already a fan. But I'm sure he does. But I'm sure deep down he wants that fight so bad. And for me, those two styles will gel together very well. I think we'd have an entertaining fight. I'd make Canelo favourite. And again, to go back on some things he said here, right? I'm just going to try and go through it piece by piece. So he said basically, I'll get the original quote here, that he's holding the belt hostage, which, look, if you have the belts, you should be defending it against all comers. You should. If you can't unify, obviously if you're unifying, that's different. But Canelo's undisputed, so he can't unify at 168 pounds. He said give the number one contender the opportunity. Yes. When WBC mandated him to fight Yildirim, he jumped at that. Now, to be fair, I will interject when he says that, right? Canelo beat Smith for the WBA title. And then the WBC basically gave that title to Canelo. They didn't give it to him in a sense of here you go, but it was a case of fight Yildirim for the vacant title. He's the mandatory. So it was a real kind of, I'll take that. Easy touch. I'll knock him out in 3 rounds. I think it was in Florida that fight was. And see you later. I can kind of understand I kind of understand that. I can to an extent understand that. To an extent, it was a simple, just kind of gimme, there you go, see you later job. And kind of get that. But I like what he's saying there about, how he basically, if Canelo does end up going and he does end up fighting Munguia, which, I want to see Benavidez, but that in of itself is a pretty good fight. Now, I'm not going to lie, that's an intriguing fight. Munguia had a very anonymous, it's fair to say, run at 160 pounds. He's now at 168 pounds, still fairly anonymous compared to what he was at 154. But I think stylistically, again, that could be a good fight. But Benavidez Canelo is the fight to make. And I like the way he's basically saying, right, well, I will fight all other contenders just to make sure you don't have the opportunity to say, well, I'll fight him instead, he's a bigger draw. No, I've beaten him, so you're fighting me. I like that. Benavidez is clearly keen on this fight, right? I don't know about Alvarez. Look, Alvarez has a tremendous resume. Anyone say, oh, Canelo's resume is legit. It's legit. Canelo is still a very, very good fighter. He's still a top quality fighter. Make no mistake about that. Is he as good as he was, we'll say 3-4 years ago, 2021? Probably he's starting to dip a little bit, but you know, if this is where he was in 2021, he's probably only there now, maybe a bit lower, but he's not, you know, falling way off or anything like that. No. So I think that there's a very competitive fight, Canelo versus Benavidez. I want to see it next year. If Canelo fights Munguia in May, provided he does fight Benavidez in September, that is a bit like the Chavez Jr. situation where it was, you know, pretty much, all right, he's fighting Triple G next, then I'm okay with that. So long as he does fight Benavidez next. And I hope the WBC, you see, here's the worry, right? The one time the WBC did put pressure on Canelo was back in 2016 when he was middleweight champion and he was fighting at Canelo weight. They did put pressure on him because actually Triple G was their mandatory. Even though he was champion with the IBF and the WBA, they still made him mandatory. I don't really like that, to be fair. I understand why they do it, but I don't really like them ranking other champions in their rankings. I know they do it, but I don't particularly like it. But they were saying Canelo's got to fight Triple G. It was in 2016. And he gave that belt up. You know, the WBC lost their golden boy. And when they did finally start working with Canelo again, they were even worse in terms of Canelo sycophants than they were prior. They were bad, but they've been even worse since then. Worse. So I worry, will they look at their golden boy and say, you know, we're not going to call him mandatory. I hope they don't. I hope that they do call him mandatory and we do get Canelo Benavidez. Honestly, I would favour Canelo in that fight, but just thinking about it on paper, it's a great fight. Oh, it's a great fight. Some could see it maybe as a pass under the torch. Who knows? It could very well be that, but it's a great fight. Benavidez versus Canelo. Honestly, take my money. Take my money. Depending on where I'm at next year, say September, right? I just go to America for the hell with it. Or Mexico, wherever they do it. But I would go, honestly. Because that fight right there, that's something else. I hope we get it. And I like what Benavidez is doing. He is literally saying, you ain't going to duck me. I'm going to make sure that if you think you've got other avenues to go down at 168, you don't. Because I'm going to close those avenues off. I like that from Benavidez. I really, really do. I like that. He really wants this. He's keen. He's had problems in the past with, you know, discipline, coming into fights, missing weight. You know, he's lost. He's never lost a fight, but he's lost, correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't he lost 2 middleweight titles? One by missing weight, so stripped, and the other by failing a test for a bit of the how you doing. Now, I don't know if was he champion for the how you doing, but I know he lost the title on the scales. I know that. He might not have been champion with the how you doing, but definitely with the missing weight. Definitely with that. He seems to have addressed those issues, and yeah, now we've got a good fighter. Let's hope we get it. In terms of the fights that aren't signed for next year, that's got to be one on the top of everyone's list. Benavidez versus Canelo. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, I will leave you with that. Peace.